Cedre Pradier is an illustrator and UI/UX designer that has contributed to projects such as Wanderstop, Assemble with Care, and Sable. And in episode 128 of the Red Tunic Podcast, they have joined me to talk about what got them into the industry, some words of encouragement, their favorite games, their life outside of gaming, the game they feel hasn't gotten enough recognition, and some lightning round questions. Before we get started, don't forget there are links in the episode description that you can follow to learn more about Cedre as well as the podcast. Also, don't forget to like and share the episode, and without further ado, enjoy episode 128. Hi, and welcome to the Red Tunic Podcast, a podcast where I look to rediscover what makes gaming fun and enjoyable by having positive conversations with those related to the industry. My name is Link, and today I'm joined by UI/UX designer and illustrator, Cedre Pradier, whose projects include titles such as Wanderstop, Assemble with Care, and Sable. Hi, Cedre, how are you doing today?
Thanks for inviting me, and I'm very good. Thank you. And you?
I'm doing all right. It's a Saturday for me after a annoying week at work. So I'm doing good. I don't have work for 2 days, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But no, but it really is, and hopefully you have. I know that you are more of a freelancer, and I often struggle to understand. I'm putting in air quotes here just because it feels weird to say, but like the freelance lifestyle, only because it's not the same as like a 9 to 5, right? Or typically isn't the same as a 9 to 5. But hopefully, you also get to enjoy the end of the work week, so to say, and that you get to have a weekend of relaxing time. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And also the luxury of being a freelancer as well is to be able to pick your days when you can. And sort of decide if you want to work, 4 days a week or, sometimes less, which is good as well. And, so yeah, I really enjoy being a freelancer compared to my time as a full-timer, which is, it's a bit of my past.
And that's great to hear because, as someone who has largely spent their entire life, working life, I should say, doing like full-time, not freelance kind of stuff, I would definitely also enjoy having the freedom to pick and choose the days that I work or my schedule,
Yeah, I really get that, and but the thing is, it also comes with a bit of insecurity. Like sometimes you don't know what's going to come up. It's not always clear if you're going to have some project lined up or not. It's good when it happens, but it comes with a great sense of sometimes when things don't go right. There's a sense of insecurity, I think we could say, or I really understand people who prefer to stay into full-time jobs. I really understand that.
Yes, that's also a wonderful thing to point out, the other side of that coin, that everything has some form of risk involved in it, right? So yes, that's the grass isn't always greener, I think, is the appropriate turn of phrase on that one. Now, Cedre, I do have a question for you before we get started. If you wouldn't mind telling, giving kind of like your version of who you are to everyone, kind of like the elevator pitch or the 411, the things that you feel are most important that people should know about before I start bugging you about other questions.
Oh yeah. So I'd say, I don't know. I moved to the UK being a graphic designer and sort of evolved into working in games while being in the UK. Who I am, So I come from, France. You probably heard it in the accent. And I did study UI UX design when I was at school. I was always definitely attracted to illustration as well, because that's what I was imagining to be doing when I was a kid. But then it sort of evolved into graphic design and everything. And I don't know, what do you want? Like, am I answering the question right, or did you want some more details?
You know, that's a question that is a good question. I don't know. So the reason I say I don't know is because this one is more like a question for you to say, like, the things that you feel are important for people to know. So what I will say, or what I will expand it to, I guess, maybe, because you mentioned that you do UI UX. Can you talk more about that, like the things that you do as well? Like, this would be a great place to do it, where we don't have to worry about trying to tie it back to the other questions that I'm going to ask, if that makes any sense.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. UI UX. Like I've worked for titles. Like I started to work for Us2 Games, and I worked for Assemble with Care at first, and then the Star as well for Us2 Games, and then went on to work for Monument Valley 1 and 2, the PC version, Panoramic Collection, that's what it's called. And did some indie games work with Sable and other games on the side, a bit, some a bit smaller, a bit less known, and more recently Wanderstop. And there's always I guess I have a big interest in UI UX in games, and always sort of I like to play my games. I mean, not my games, not the games I worked on, but other games with like interesting UI in general, and always make sure to keep an eye on trends and everything. But yeah.
So thank you for that. And I, some preface. I have 2 degrees, one in programming and one in graphic design. And I joke that because this would have been like 2010-ish, that I didn't know that UI UX was its own thing, so to say, like a separate thing. So I went into design thinking it would be similar. Kind of is, but it isn't.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of said it all right there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, because I come from graphic design as well. I studied interactive design in Gobelin, and I sort of wanted to study more video games at Gobelin. But the thing is, that's the course I managed to enter. It was a master's. And at first, I didn't know what I wanted to do exactly, but it was globally about to do the concept of a game or an app, and you had to do the interface or the illustration, but I didn't know quite what I wanted to do, if I wanted to go into 3D, but I guess I was more attracted to the graphic side of UI, because you can do some really interesting things with interface and stuff. If you imagine games like Persona 5 with cool animated interface, that's sort of what made me what attracted me into video games, and seeing the possibility of what can be done with UI, how buttons and the interface can be made much more interesting than it is. Less boring, I guess, in a sense. I didn't know you studied graphic design as well.
Yes. So you actually you got you got to where I was going with my question, or where I was like what the question was going to be, and that was going to be talking about like UI in games and such. And sorry. So in my case, as a quick aside, your "oh no" summed it up real well, in that I did not know the right thing that I was trying to do, and ended up doing design. Because I also enjoy those kind of elements in games, like because it's as one of the core elements of design in general is bad design is seen and heard, good design is hidden, right? It's there. You don't acknowledge it. Most of the time you're not going to acknowledge how good it is. It's going to be there. It's going to be something that isn't in your face, standing out. In the case of games like Persona 5, that one was straight up aggressively amazing.
In your
so it
face.
just yeah, exactly. It was punching you. Yeah, it's punching you every chance it gets. Like, hey, look how cool I am.
Exactly.
But no, you got that was basically it. I wanted to talk about that some more because for me, I've always liked it, and I'm wondering like what it was for you that made you like it. Like I know you touched on doing the interactive design, and also like seeing nice UI stuff in games, like the whole menus, the interactions, what have you. But like, I'm wondering, was there anything more to it than that, or did you just play like some games, see like Persona 5 and go, oh hot damn, I can do this. This is awesome, and then go that way?
Oh no, it didn't go. Yeah, like that's not how I got the idea at all. Like at first, I didn't even imagine. I didn't know what I could do in games. That's the thing. I knew I wanted to work for games in some aspect, but I didn't know what discipline yet. So, and I always imagine myself like making the illustrations, like maybe making the assets, 2D assets or something. So at first I was really into Don't Starve. I don't know if you remember the graphic style of Don't Starve, but it's really hand-drawn, like a very Tim Burton style as well, but it's mainly hand-drawn art. And I really sort of recognized a bit of my own art, the art I was doing at the time, when I played that game, and I just loved the mood and the originality of it. So, but I really didn't know where and if I could ever enter a game. That's the question as well. It's just that it was just a good random thing that I was already a UI UX designer when I entered games. So I was a UI UX designer for apps, websites and stuff. I was mostly working for startups in the tech area, the tech bros. But yes, it's literally that. But the thing is, I was really unhappy in that job. Really extremely unhappy in that sense. I tried my best to stay as many years as I could working in those full-time jobs. But I don't think it was ever for me, like the routine, there was something a bit soul destroying about it. And when I was finally free again, I made the decision to never go back to a job I would not enjoy, because I killed so many years staying in miserable jobs. So my first thing was like, okay, I want to go into games, and I'm going to try it that way. So it was a sort of it was a bit lucky for me to apply to this job at Us2, where it was the first time I got into games. I sort of used my existing portfolio to enter the field, plus some game jams I made when I was in London. That was a bit. Yeah, I didn't know that I was going to do that, basically.
So thank you for speaking that. Sorry, I'm laughing at the idea, or how the paraphrasing in my head is basically, you went to games to escape the soul-crushing tech bros.
Yes. Yep. It was, and trying to fit into that culture as well, because I was trying so hard to fit with the tech bros I mean, there were some good aspects like playing Mario Kart and stuff after work and or whatever activities they would have, trying to make it like a family and like being cool and like together and everything. But in reality, nobody had anything in common with each other. That's the reality of this full-time job I was in. Yeah.
So you just said something that I don't think has ever like connected the dots for me about you know, a lot of people have issues when companies are like, we're like a family here, right? And like you said, you know, the places you worked, everyone was like, yeah, we're going to be like a family trying to do what have yous, like playing Mario Kart or whatever, right? But no one ever has anything in common outside of like one thing, right? And it's, you know, I think that's made me realize one of the big issues with all of the, we're like a family here. It's like, well, we don't, like, none of us would get along in the real world. How, like, what are you saying, right? And like that just made me like the light bulb go off in my head about why that's even more of an annoying statement of we're like a family here. It's like, I wouldn't want to deal with most of you people in the real world ever. What do you mean, right? It's like I mostly like my family. I don't like you guys, right?
Yeah, it's like trying to force like chemistry of you know, like a friendship or something, and that never works if you force friendship or like any sort of relationship. It's not going to work. So yeah, like there was 100 reasons of why I could not stay in that full-time job. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, you know, like I completely understand. I think a lot of people can completely understand it. So like, you know, you don't have to worry about trying to justify it or sell it to me. I get it. We all get it, you know.
Yeah. I know.
However, I'll say this because you kind of, you know, the first question and my normal follow up kind of blended in there. So I'm going to just kind of skip the more formal version of how did you get into developing and making games. You already spoke to that, but I am curious if you have. Sorry, I'm laughing at what the answer might be, but do you have any words of encouragement for others based on like what you've learned? And if Escape the Tech Bros is your words of encouragement, 100%, I get it, but I'd like to still ask, you know.
Sometimes you don't have the luxury to skip the tech bros, sadly, especially in that time right now, in that timeline. We are in the wrong timeline. So words of encouragement, or advice on how to enter the field of games.
You know, the way I used to ask this question was advice from your advice from your experience, but I've changed it to words of encouragement because sometimes the advice that people would give would be from like 15 years ago and it might not be applicable, or they didn't feel they had the things that they would like to say they didn't feel were, you know, was quote unquote advice. So, you know, you can take it as advice or you can take it as words of encouragement. However you'd like to interpret it is the way I should have been answering this story.
Yeah. So I would say it's kind of hard as well because times really are hard for everybody, as well as, you know, as well as seniors, as well as newcomers. I hear it from friends and stuff. So I think, yes, seeing what we're facing now, I'm talking about AI and stuff, I would say just keep making what you love. Maybe it sounds cheesy or something, but keep making what makes you you as well. Because that's a thing I've been reconnecting, trying to go back more into illustration this year. It's also reconnecting with yourself and actually making stuff that you enjoy and not always making stuff that they ask you to make at work. Because sometimes you can wake up after 10 years in some job and you're like, but what do I like actually? Because you've been spending so much time just obeying directives, and you don't even know what's your artist identity at all. Or if you're a game developer, or just coding and stuff like yeah, I would encourage people to keep making their own little side projects, to make their quirky little games on the side when they have some free time or something. Keep pushing into the whatever happens in the future. We still need to have like real humans making things, to make things that have some soul, because you can tell when a project is trying to fit into some marketing criteria as well. So I would just say for everyone to try to push through the darkness. That's my answer.
So thank you for that.
I don't know if that's helpful, actually. Yeah.
No, so the the push through the darkness is like a perfect encapsulation of everything. Sorry, that's what I was laughing at. It was just, the perfect encapsulation. Push through the dark, just keep on trucking, right?
That's it.
But thank you. That was, yes, I very much like the idea of just keep making what you love, or like keep on making what makes you. I think that's or keep on making what makes you you. Double words sometimes screw with my head, but I love the idea of that advice or words of encouragement, because it's important stuff to keep in mind, because as anyone that has worked a soul crushing job, and I think what I'm about to say kind of is going to hit home, because you kind of touched around the exact same thing in different words. But like you lose a sense of self when you are spending all of the time doing things that you don't closely align with who you are, right? And being able to ground yourself outside of work, outside of whatever else is going on, is like a very important thing to do, right? So I think that's just wonderful words of encouragement to like just keep on effectively being authentic to who you are in the best way that you possibly can, right?
In this economy, yes. Maybe that's too much to ask for, but that's the idea, yeah.
I would hope you do it in all forms of the economy, not just the current one, because I think I'm trying to think of how to phrase this, not as too much of a joke answer, but I think like all the weird little indie games, I think if they were to only exist when times are hard, I think we would see far less weird little indie games, and I want to see more weird little indie games. So like, by all means, even when times are good, do what makes you you, and make those weird little indie games or those weird little projects. That way other people can find and enjoy them, and share that enjoyment with you, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yep.
Now, Ced, I want to ask this one, because this is and as we talked about before we started recording, that I'm aware that this one is a bit of a dirty question. It can be a bit of a hellscape. So by all means, feel free to interpret this as liberally or as widely as you would like. But like, do you have a favorite game or a set of favorite games, or a favorite game series or a franchise or what have you? And what games, I'm just going to say it in this case, games would those be, and why are those games your favorite game?
So I really thought about this, well, I would say I have like two games I think the most of more recently. Of course, the answer would have been different if you asked me this 10 years ago. But taste evolve as well with time. So I would say Chance of Senna and the Dark Souls franchise. Most particularly, I would say Elden Ring. Yep, that would be one of my favorites. And why? Probably because I do enjoy games that make you think and that does not guide or take the hand of the player too much. And I think Chance of Senna is the perfect example. It's in a sense, it's a bit. I don't know if you ever played it actually. If you see what I mean.
No, I haven't actually, or at least I don't think I have.
Oh, okay. If you played the Obra Dinn, maybe.
I'm more aware of Obra Dinn. That one sounds more familiar. Or like I'm more aware visually. I know what that game is in the top. Like I can see it in my mind. Sorry.
Yeah, and that's sort of a similar concept, but very in a way that's also very different. Where in Obra Dinn you need to observe like past memories of what happened on the ship, and you start to collect those memories and pick up the face and be like, oh wait, this is that person who died that way, and put a name, attach a name to it. It's a sort of, so you're sort of free because you're not guided. I mean, you're guided, but you still have to discover everything by yourself. And it's the same with Chants of Senna, except instead of guessing the name of the passengers who died, in Chants of Senna, you have to guess the words of a language, a new language. So you see weird writings, a bit like Japanese kanji or something, but a language that doesn't exist in the real world, and you have to guess which shape will mean what word. Yeah, I don't know if you get how it is from how I explain it, but it's a really great game because I really enjoyed it because of that element of needed to think and to sometimes you make mistakes as well. You think one word is that, so you attribute that sign to a word, and then you see the characters talking to each other, and when you guess more words, you're like, oh, but wait, this doesn't make any sense. Maybe there's a word I guessed wrong there. So yeah, it's a very, very good game and a bit in the vibe of the Obra Dinn, but very different. It's actually taking the concept of the Tower of Babylon. And I don't remember enough of that story, but the idea is each level of that tower has a different language, a different habitants who have a different language and different writing. And I think the concept of the Tower of Babylon is that the closer they go to God, the closer they build the building to the sky, the more they are punished or something. But I think there's a bit of this in the game, in the story of the game. Yeah, it's a really excellent game. Yeah.
So, thank you. I looked it up while you were explaining it, quick Google just to see if it jogged any memories. And I don't think I've even seen anything about this game. So thank you for this, because I've written it down because, the art style, the direction, I always struggle with describing these kind of things. But the aesthetic, it's really cool. It looks really nice. And then, I'm looking at just some screenshots. I see what you mean. I also see people making, funny little jokes about the translations of things. But it's interesting what you're saying. It reminds me of, very loosely in this case, to be very clear, it reminds me of No Man's Sky, where all of the alien races have their own language and you have to learn their words. And while you're trying to talk to them otherwise, it'll have whatever it is they're saying, and every now and then the word will drop in, and you have to, on a hope and a prayer, guess what they're actually saying to you and not insult them or what have you, right? It kind of reminds me of that, but a whole game based around that, which probably means it's way more intense and way more involved than me trying to make sure that I'm giving someone 50 oxygen when they're asking for 50 oxygen instead of, 5 uranium or something, right?
Oh, is it No Man's Sky who had that concept? Because I'm thinking of Out There. There was a game that was named Out There, and it's a bit like this because the aliens speak to you and they give you a resource, but you have to guess the language and you have to answer yes or no, but you need to play more to guess the words. But I had no idea that No Man's Sky was doing that. I need to play No Man's Sky again.
Yeah, so I don't know if that was there from the start. And I say that only because, as anyone that knows anything about No Man's Sky, it had a bit of a rough start, and it has went through several I can't even say it this way. It did its redemption arc, and then it just kept stacking on top of that redemption arc, right? So I don't know when it was introduced, but basically what they did is a similar thing. You can find pillars that give you words like language, and then it lets you talk to people with more of a confidence in what they're saying. I didn't know about Out There either, but that's like, clear. I highly doubt that. That No Man's Sky was the first to do it. It's just one of the first ones that I was introduced that did it, right? But it's interesting that there are other games that have a similar mechanic and base things you can do in the game around that mechanic. No Man's Sky is kind of it's not the primary thing. You don't have to worry about it too much. Chance of Senar, and then a quick look at Out There. I'm going to make the presumption that it's a little more important that you know what you're doing and saying. But that's, I like the idea of that because it just adds an extra interesting layer of a lived-in world, so to say, if that makes sense. A lived-in world that you are visiting as opposed to being part of, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I think, we will need more games like this where you're really confronted with other language. Because I remember, for example, playing Mass Effect, and I think even if there's all sorts of alien race and stuff, they still speak the same language from what I remember. I used to love those games, by the way, as well. And probably was disappointed by the ending, like most players of the set. Mass Effect. That's. I would love to have a game, well, a bit more like Chance of Senar, but maybe a bit more like a sci-fi, a Star Trek or something, where you really go in space and really meet other weird alien creatures with like crazy languages and stuff. I would love that.
Yeah. That would be really interesting. And as you were, you bring up Mass Effect, and I think a lot of that is just, kind of like for ease of the player, right? Like, oh yeah, there's an auto translator. It translates everything for you. And that's arguably why everyone's speaking English or what have you in Star Wars Basic or right. So like, I understand completely what you're saying though, is that would be a very interesting mechanic that you have to learn all these languages and not, otherwise you get shot because you say the wrong thing. When when someone's saying, hi, how are you doing? You call their mother a goat or something and they shoot you for it, right? Like, that would be a really interesting...
That's a real explorer adventure. That's something real. That's not like, It
really is, right? You what you think you're saying is you're just making noises with your mouth and, you don't realize that it is a phonetic language and, they shoot you for it because you insulted their mother.
I'm imagining a sort of end like, GTA, like, but Mass Effect, and you're trying to guess the language, and if you guess it wrong, you're like, wasted, with the screen where you die.
I'm sorry, that immediately in my mind invokes, instead of them shooting you, you just feel deep shame and sorrow for calling their mother a goat, and then you die of shame. That's how I interpreted that, which would also be pretty funny. I'm not going to lie.
Actually, yeah, that would be an interesting mechanic to introduce shame, and it reminds me of Star Wars, like KOTOR, the Knight of the Old Republic, the first one, and the like different choice you made put your character into the good side or more into the bad side, depending of the answer you were making. So it was a bit closer to what you're explaining here. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, no, but no, sorry. Just thank you for those games. Mentioning those games. I hadn't heard of the two of them, and I wrote them down because I'm going to look more into them because they seem interesting. And like I said, the Chance of Centaur, that looks fantastic, and that sounds. I can understand why you'd enjoy that game because it's an interesting game, and interesting games are typically enjoyable, fun things, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
No, sorry, please. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, I was also thinking, yeah, like my two answers were, yeah, Chance of Senna and Elden Ring. But yeah, I mentioned other games in the course of the discussion because there was much to say and references. But yeah, I would say Elden Ring is probably one of my second favorite of all time because of the difficulty and the sort of, it's the only game where you have such a high of adrenaline where when you manage to kill a boss, it's so rewarding and it gives you such a feeling that I never found in any other game. So yeah. But if you want to skip Elden Ring, because it's a bit more it's a bit more popular. So I don't know if you want to speak about Dark Souls. So yeah.
So I'm trying to think of how to phrase this that doesn't sound like I'm being dismissive of what you just said.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
I think the easy answer is usually when I bounce onwards, it's not intentionally ignoring or what have you. It's just my little bird brain is seeing something shiny elsewhere and chasing shiny objects. However, you said something interesting about Elden Ring and the beating bosses and getting that adrenaline rush. And I think that's an interesting thing to talk about because I never realized because I beat all of Demon Souls years ago on the PlayStation 3, and I've had a harder time getting back into these games, partly because you have to be in the right mood and you have to be able to devote the energy and the whole everything. Those games aren't typically games you just casually pick up to see how it goes, right?
Yeah.
Unlike a game like, let's say, Stardew Valley, where you can casually pick that up and it's not going to be too demanding of you and this, that, and the other. However, the mention of the adrenaline rush you get from it, it made me think of two things. And one is like other games that are difficult, how that is a relatable thing that you get that nice little dopamine hit when you do the thing you're trying to do, even if it whether it takes the first time or the 101st time in the case of Elden Ring. But also it makes me worry about the people or wonder about the people that have basically played Elden Ring so much, or like any of the Souls-likes or FromSoft games so much, that they can walk through it without like breaking a sweat. Like, I'm wondering if they have it so mechanically down, if they even feel anything when they no-hit the boss for the 12th time. You know what I mean?
I see what you mean, yeah. Because it's true, when I did beat the Elden Ring for the first time, because I did it several times, but the first time was so new and where you feel things 10 times more because it's harder to achieve as well. You feel like, there's a real difficulty. I guess when you come back to it and when you're used to it, I don't know. Then the thing is, I'm not like a big hardcore player, like those players like Let Me Solo Her, those kind of guys who can who have memorized Malenia's technique down to perfection. I guess we can. But I guess it's the same kind of thing that happened for anything you get, like you're always a bit happy when you get something new, and then you get the same thing, or you play it over and over again, and you lose that feeling progressively, and until you're going to probably ultimately lose any interest in that thing, whatever it might be, if it's a game or an activity or something.
You know, it's interesting you mentioning Let Me Solo Her. I imagine their big, like where their dopamine comes from is probably helping other people, right? Because like they beat Melanie or whatever, like however you pronounce her name, they beat her so many times that FromSoft sent him a sword or something, right? Like they sent him his swords or their swords that they use in the game. So like, you know, I imagine they aren't doing it to completely show FromSoft that their game ain't nothing, but they're just doing it because they enjoy helping people, right? So like,
that's really amazing. Yeah.
If you didn't hear about that, I'm pretty certain I did not hallucinate this. However, my brain sometimes does weird things. But like, I'm pretty certain that they sent them like something to acknowledge or commemorate all of the hard work they did. I don't know how to phrase it properly because you know, how do you phrase someone? Yeah, like how do you phrase someone curb stomping a boss like 100,000 times, right? But yeah. So like, I imagine, you know, for them, it's not the dopamine, the adrenaline, it's the helping. But yeah, like you know, I can relate to when I have played of Elden Ring, the mini bosses or the harder encounters. You know, you're right. You get a nice adrenaline rush and like a sense of joy after beating what you would see as hard opponents or hard interactions, right? Me personally, my biggest thing is the amount of traps, I guess you'd walk into, and it rushes into the territory of not feeling fair. But that's just me not, you know, like realizing I need to observe every room before walking in. Otherwise, I'm going to suffer from a beginner's trap, right?
Yep. Oh yeah. No, it takes me back to what you mean, and I really love everything like that's hidden in the worlds of it's especially Elden Ring, because I think I saw like I don't know if you took an interest into the lore of the story and everything of that game, but I just love it so much. Like I probably spent hours listening to videos of theories of what this specific talisman mean, and because you know players have been able to reconstruct the story based on the description of each item, and then you're able to guess what happened before all things went to hell in that world. But yeah, so I'm just fascinated by everything in Elden Ring, really.
You know, yes, that is also like that speaks true as well for my life, in that my partner, she says this about basically every big Souls-like game, that she hates how difficult they are because the world they create is always so interesting with so much cool story and lore. But she doesn't have the patience or what have you to enjoy those kind of games. So like, I 100% know what you're meaning, because yeah, usually they're really heavy on the lore, and it's fun getting to read about it and hear like other people connect all of the absolutely wild dots, right? But yeah, like yes. My biggest issue with that is they hide all that interesting lore behind sometimes a incredibly brutal experience.
Absolutely, yeah. I think in a way I must like it because you need to look for the lore. It's not explained to you in cinematics or it's not explained to you. You really have to look for it. And in a way, that's a bit like Chance of Senna or Bradin. You have to look for the truth yourself and to dig for it, and to really be interested in it. And that makes it even more interesting because it's actually really, really, really interesting. And I don't understand why it's so hidden. But yeah.
So, you mentioning that makes me think of the concept of like an unreliable narrator. And I think that's part of why it could be so interesting because like you don't know. There are some things that are if I understand correctly, some of the things you read or find out are delivered as absolute truth, while other things are delivered from like different perspectives or what have you, right? So like that also adds to the interest of the lore because at that point you have to filter out where the bias might be or where things are being tainted or colored or whatever phrasing you want to use to find like what the actual truth was, to figure out, I don't want to say who the good guy was and who the bad guy was, but find out where what is it? Like when there are two sides to the story, the truth is usually in the middle.
Yeah,
right?
I was thinking. Yeah.
So like that is also a good point when talking about the lore to like, that light bulb just went off for me is like, yeah, that's also probably a cool thing about it is that, you never really know the absolute truth. You only know the sides presented and then trying to figure out where the overlap is on where the actual truth is from both of those sides, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Actually, that what you say is making me think of Elden Ring plus the DLC that came out after, and I won't spoil anything, but yeah, it explains another side of the story for some other characters, and one in particular as well. And you really see how you thought maybe that way about that character in the main story, and then you discover something else in the DLC, and you're like, oh wait, okay, maybe they're not as good or whatever, or as bad. It depends. There's several characters in that situation, but yeah.
Yes, and thank you. Yeah, so I'm glad that my what direction I was thinking seems more accurate in that like they 100% created a world where it's up to you to try and figure out what the truth actually might be. But yeah, it's also why are you hiding it? But at the same time, a lot of people enjoy hunting for it, right? And like piecing things together. So I get it, but also don't get it, but still get it.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's so good. Yeah.
Now, Ced, I do want to ask you this because we are. I don't want to say we're getting close to the end, but we're getting on, and I would be remiss if I didn't at least get to this one before going forward and missing my opportunity, because I like to ask people what they do and enjoy doing to relax or what have you outside of games, because as something that I've found is a lot of people, they forget that developers are just developers in this case. I always use developers as the whole umbrella thing, but they always forget that people that make games, that developers are human beings as well. And that's the thing everyone kind of does, right? You forget people are people beyond the face that we see of them. But I like to ask, like, what is it you do outside of games? What do you do to relax? What do you enjoy? Because, again, you're a person, and if the answer for you is, well, it's just more video games, that's completely valid and fair, but I still like to ask,
No, yeah, that makes sense. Actually, that would make sense because most people who want to make game are often a bit like, it's not uncommon. It's not everybody, but it's not uncommon for people to be sort of outcast kids. So you land into video games because you're bad at socializing. But I don't only play games. Maybe that's good, I don't know. But I did play games more often when I was a teenager and a kid. But what I enjoy doing mostly these days is urban sketching. I saw so it's going in some meetups or the city or live drawings and just drawing places or people. And I do enjoy making my own art as well. So I do use like both traditional and digital techniques. At first, I was mostly focusing on digital, but I've seen, well, especially maybe with AI as well, like I think it makes you understand that it's really important to probably cultivate something more traditional and use real pencils and real graphite and everything. And so, yeah, that's mostly what I enjoy doing. And on the side as well, I like going on little trips or, hike and stuff because I'm based in Scotland. So there's quite a lot of good landscapes to go and see and visit. And yeah, the countryside. Scottish countryside. And yeah, as another interest I have is also psychology. Maybe it's a bit unusual, but it's another special interest of mine. So I spend also a lot of time studying this. Yeah, pick whatever you like if you want to ask me a question.
So there are a few things I'm going to bug you about for that one, and one on the topic of Scotland. Or just the UK in general, but like the thing is, I imagine actually I don't know how prevalent it would have been out of France or in Europe in general. I'll say because the UK and Europe same but different, right? But how has it been getting to go on little trips where there's like a castle every like 12 feet? Like how does that feel?
Yeah, I mean that's something that feels really familiar to me because my family come from the center of France. So if you see Dordogne or those kind of areas which are in the middle of France, and there's a lot of castle as well in that area. A lot of still medieval villages and stuff that kept all the ancient rocks and all the sort of ancient buildings and that sort of vibe. So when I moved to the UK and saw Edinburgh for the first time and Scotland, it really just resonated, I guess, with me and something from my childhood of visiting castle as a kid when I was in a smaller French village. I think there's something very similar with Scotland and France actually.
So thank you for that. And, I don't know why I've never. I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase it. I think mostly media has like said that like the UK has like castles everywhere, and I've never really occurred to me that Europe probably does as well, but that's also interesting to know that they do. And I the context of why I asked that, why I say this, or why like I have that view, like I'm in Canada. We don't have castles, unfortunately. The best we have are a few old forts from when like the colonizations, I guess, originally started. And, a fort's not a castle. It's the closest thing we'll get to a castle. But, like, for me, I always forget that, like, there are cities and such, cities, towns, hamlets, villages, whatever, that are older than my country. And, of course, there's going to be the old infrastructure in some shape or form around, right? I always just forget that. And, like I said, it's always just the UK is the one I think of, but yeah, it would make perfect sense that Europe would also have castles and stuff because, again, villages that are older than my country exist.
Yeah, it's true. Because you're right to remind me of that because I've never been to Canada or America, but I can totally imagine. Yeah, of course, there's no castles in the same sense as there is in in European countries. Actually, that must be a little weird. I don't know, but yeah, because I guess here in Europe it's a proof of like centuries of like war, sometimes conflicts. You see, you know, some castles, yeah, they are completely destroyed, and they explain to you why. And it's really interesting, and all that drama that happened in those castles when they were trying to marry this person to this person to what. So yeah, there's a lot of lived history, but I don't know. Yeah, there must be some really nice aspects to Canada as well. This, you know, I don't think castles are the absolute best thing to have. It's interesting, but yeah.
So you say this as someone that has castles, though. You got to keep that in mind.
I have castles. I have them all. Sorry.
we don't have castles, so you know it's yeah, you're right. They're probably not the best thing, but you know when you don't have them, they are definitely the best thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you know, the best we got was like a small ship that you would call like a few sails is kind of the best we got. Like that's the biggest ship we got. We just have never had the same kind of fun wanderlust kind of things that inspire that. We have a lot of forests, a lot of land. Don't get me wrong. There is the chance for wanderlust, but like we don't got castles. We don't got big ships. We didn't get any of that fun stuff.
That's true, but actually, yeah, like the big national parks that there is, like there probably are a bit less in the UK and in France and stuff compared to the size of the land in Canada or the USA. Like, yeah, it seems like a bit like a paradise when I see those big parks and stuff that you have. Like, yeah, beautiful stuff.
Now, Ced, I want to ask you this one, just because you said this it felt like you said it so casually, and
yeah,
I need to ask before I move on to bugging you with the lightning round questions, and this might be a little relatable because the psychology of the lightning round questions, but like psychology, you just sort of brushed past that one. What?
Brush past? No, like I didn't mention it, but I know it's not the subject. But yeah, that's a special interest of mine. Yeah, I really, I guess at some point I really needed to get into, you know, actually understanding people, and what makes, like, you know, some kind of people behave that way and others the other way. Yeah, like for me, it's a really interesting topic, and I think society will benefit from probably teaching kids this as like a true, you know, an actual thing you study at school, because I think it's one of the most important thing to actually to study, because when you're unleashed into the world after completing your master's or something, you have to deal with people as a freelancer or like or in your everyday life, because you're going to meet people and stuff. So I think it's human psychology is extremely is really important. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. I understand better now. And yes, I, you know, completely agree that yes, it's a wonderful thing to better understand other people, why people might do things. And that, you know, the benefit of it, you know, a huge benefit of it for everyone, right? So thank you for that. I understand what you were meaning by an interest in psychology now. Sorry, it was just the kind of the walking by, just being, oh, in psychology, and be like, well, I need some context of of this. So thank you for providing the context. Makes perfect sense. But yeah, so with that in mind as now, sorry, with that in mind as well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I want to work you towards the door. I want to get the lights on, let you go out into the world, or enjoy, because it's a late afternoon now for you. You start to enjoy like your weekend or what have you. However, if it was all right, I was hoping I could still bug you with some lightning round questions.
Yeah, you can totally. I still have some free time, so don't feel obligated to end everything right now. But no, I do have some more time if needed.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. I'm not gonna hear that and say, oh, time to monopolize that little bit of extra free time. But I will feel a little more comfortable bugging you with the lightning round questions, like I said. So I do want to remind you, though, I always like to make sure I remind people of this, that these are lighthearted, nonsensical, and a little bit random. So by all means, you're free to answer them as quick as you'd like. There is usually no judgment. I say that, but I lie. There's, sometimes there's going to be some judgment because sometimes they're just wild questions and wild answers. There's going to be judgment. But they are random that you can answer however you see fit. And, after the brief talk of you liking psychology, I am worried that this is going to make you question certain things about why you agreed to talk to me. But, we'll cross that bridge. But with that in mind, I'm going to ask you one that I love asking everyone, because it's absolute nonsense. And it's also the best way to kick open the door, I think. So, with that in mind, which video game character do you think would most likely want uppies from a goth dommy mommy?
Oh, what? Sorry, I didn't catch the spot.
Which video game character do you think would most likely want uppies from a goth dommy mommy? In the context of what an uppie is, because I realized that it might not be a thing that's said in Europe or whatever. Uppies is like when a child is wanting to be picked up.
Ah, okay. So that's what I think. Okay. So which video game character would like that? I'm thinking of Astarion from Baldur's Gate. I don't know, random.
He does seem like the brooding type that just does want to be picked up and held by a giant.
Yeah, probably.
Mommy.
I don't know. Yeah, he seems like quite. A bit quirky character. Yeah, that I could see him. Yeah, doing that. Yeah.
See, now I'm judging myself because you said he's a quirky character. I truly feel most people would want uppies from a goth dommy mommy, but I guess that would make everyone quirky.
Well, is one of people's favorite characters, so I guess a lot of people maybe identify with it. I don't know, or like him, or whatever. Yeah.
Now I'm gonna ask you this one, and partly because you're in Europe, I'm gonna give it the Europe flair, or the European twist to it. Which video game character do you think was most likely pro witch burnings?
For what? For witch burnings?
Yeah, right? Like which video game character do you think was in favor of burning witches or what have you?
Oh, okay. So was I don't know. Like, is it a fact or not? Like, is there a real answer or like?
Oh, none of these have real answers. I want to be very clear.
But I thought maybe that one had a real one. Okay. I can imagine. I'm sort of imagining Mario. Maybe because that's the most, that's the most unlikely answer. Like the joyful plumber, like, so it's like he wants to burn witches and something. Because it's not fun if I just answer a horror game character or something. That's too logical. So like a really cheerful character, yeah, Mario or something, yeah.
So
I can
thank
imagine
you.
him. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I like the approach that you took with that one. The sheer chaos of picking someone that 100% you would not expect, just standing there and enjoying it with a joyous
or
look on their face.
Mario or Kirby or something like some really cute character. Like, yeah, burn her. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Seth. I appreciate the thought, the psychology put to that one. I'm gonna hit you with one more, and I don't know where this one's gonna go, and it's not because it's a crazy one, but I just don't know where it's gonna go. Which video game character do you think is most likely to put orange juice over their cereal, as opposed to something like milk?
Oh wow, that's an heretic. Oh my god. Okay. Wow. So oranges. So that's something wicked. That's something unheard of. Trying to think. Or maybe Harry from Disco Elysium. I don't know. Like, I can imagine that guy full of drugs and pouring orange juice on his cereal. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So, thank you. The
moment you said existential crisis. Yeah.
The moment you said it, I imagine there would be a crazy conflicting ego conversations, arguing with them. But so yes, thank you. I can 100% see it. That would be, yeah, I can see it. So thank you so much.
Yep. You're welcome.
Now, with that as well, I don't want, like as I said, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, and I did want to work you towards the door, so that way you can enjoy your weekend, enjoy, your more of your free time. However, as I always say with this in mind as well, if there was anything else you did want to discuss, though, a cool game, what you're doing, something you feel more people should just be more aware of, or if you did want to, if there was a burning question that you did want to answer that we didn't get to, by all means, the floor is yours. As well, an opportunity for you to let everyone know where they can find you, find more information about you, and I'll also include those links in the episode description.
Okay. So I'm wondering. I don't know. Like, I think we did mention quite a lot of points anyway. So maybe I think there was the probably the point about the game that's like unrecognized. I don't remember what was the thing.
Oh, so if like a game that you feel didn't get enough credit, is that what you mean?
Yes. Yeah. That would be it.
So yeah, if by all means, if there's a game that you like have a burning desire to talk about that you feel people don't recognize enough, or just might have slipped under the radar, by all means, please, I'd love to hear about your, the game you feel didn't get enough attention from everyone.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a bit known for people who enjoy those kind of games, but I always think about. So I don't know if you ever played it, but it's named Procession to Calvary by Joe Richardson, and I really enjoy quirky games, like medieval sort of games and stuff, or inspired by Renaissance for this one. A bit like Pentiment in a way, but a bit more. It's definitely more quirky and more funny actually. And probably if people enjoy Monty Python, that would be definitely the game to play. So for me, it's one of my little favorite games that I'm a bit saddened sometimes that more people don't advise those games, or like it's a bit niche, I guess, but I really do enjoy it. So yeah.
So, thank you for mentioning. I'd never heard of this game, and I'm quickly looking up. Sorry, looking up
it's really
images.
funny. It's really funny. Yeah.
Just looking up images of it, and it's I immediately think I can see what you mean by it's kind of Monty Python-y in the sense of absurdist humor. Yeah. Like I have no context for anything, but these are all kind of like Renaissance-y-ish paintings. That's definitely not the right period, and I should know better given a few years of art history. But the art style of it, and just like seeing, it looks, the absurdism of some of this imagery, and then one of the screenshots is people holding up score placards as if someone like fell, did an Olympic dive or whatever it is. So like, yes, I immediately can see what you mean by as like, it looks like it would have some Monty Python-ish absurdity to it. So thank you for that. I made a note of that one. I hadn't heard about it. I hadn't seen it. And it seems like something that, like you said, it's similar in the sense to Pentiment, that if it could be worth checking out if that's kind of your jam, right? Or just in general.
Yeah.
Sorry, I spoke over you. I didn't catch what you said.
No, it's fine. Yeah, I know. I'm the one who spoke over you. So, it's far less serious than Pentiment. Far less serious. I really enjoyed it, and it's not too long, so it's something. I know people don't often have the time to invest in games and stuff, but it's definitely a game you can finish if you have a few hours ahead of you. So yeah, really advise that.
That's also a wonderful selling point for a game to say that, it's short enough that you can play it in a few hours, because I am as someone that stupidly created a backlog during the PS2 era, and then their PS2 died, but I didn't stop buying games because I'm an idiot. But like ended up short and long of it with a massive backlog of JRPGs. As someone that stares down the abyss of several like 80-hour games, being able to now go, I can play a game and beat it in half a weekend, I am fully on board, because one, I get to experience a whole experience in a weekend, but also I don't feel as guilty about it because it's only a few hours, right? Like I'm not dumping 50, 60, 70 hours into something. So yes, that is an amazing point to say that, couple hours or what have you, and it's, you can experience it and put it back on the shelf and be happy with yourself, right?
Exactly, yeah. And that's why I love indie games as well, because you can always, you don't have to put 80 hours like the abyss, like you said, of 80 hours. Always make sure to check the time that you're going to spend on the game before starting it. Actually, there's websites for that. That are really helpful as well, but yeah.
I'm not going to lie. A lot of the games I've been playing recently, I have looked at how long to beat, and that has been a deciding factor. And if I have the energy to start it, or have the energy to complete it, I should say. I always have the energy to start a game, but like, I'm not always going to have the energy to beat it. So like that has been the thing I've been doing for this year, basically. Every time I start a game of, do I have the energy for this? 70 hours. I don't think I do right now. Oh, this one is 6. I'm going to play the 6-hour one.
Yeah, the trick is to stay interested, and feel free to drop it when you no longer feel the spark of the interest, I think. So I think it's really just important to just go with whatever really strike you by the interest of maybe the cover art, or I don't know how beautiful it is, or the mystery that's promised in the summary of the game. But yeah, feel free to, yeah. I try to make myself stop more often than trying to finish all my games, because yeah, sometimes you don't have the time and there's life.
Yeah, exactly. As I've gotten older, I have more aligned with everything you just said. When I was younger, more than once, I beat a game. Like a game that just didn't, I was so annoyed with it. I was like, no, I'm beating this game. And I would not enjoy my time with it because I was just hating every moment of it. But I was just playing it to beat it because I was upset with myself or upset with the game, right? But that's a very good point to be like, no, when you're done with a game, it's okay just to be done with the game. Whether that you're done with that game early on, whether you're done with that game later on, like it's fine. The hard part about that is, cost of everything these days, which is why indie games are fantastic. They're cheaper, it makes it easier, and also, I'm not going to lie, I've had less issues completing indie games than I have completing non-indie games or smaller games. You know what I mean? But yes, sorry, running off on a weird tangent there. I understand completely what you're saying, and I agree completely as well. That's an important thing to learn and to do, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like sort of knowing yourself and your capacity for some games, and what makes you play game as well. Is it to I don't know, to pass the time or to actually learn something? Because there's some good games, or like sort of I don't know, like not train your mind, but or have a challenge in front of you and some interesting challenge. I don't know. Like the different players probably have more different reasons as to why they play game and what makes them interested to games. Actually, that would be a very interesting psychology study. But yeah.
It probably would be one that I am far not educated enough to really dive into discussing, but I do understand and agree completely. Yeah. It would be a fantastic study for someone that is more versed in these things.
Absolutely.
But said, as I said, I do want to help work you towards the door, so that way I'm not stealing more of your time. However, I don't think, and I apologize if you did say it and I just blanked on it, but where can people find more information about you? Where can they follow you? Where can they learn about you? What links would you like?
I'm mostly on Blue Sky. I don't remember my handle actually. It's cedre.bluesky.social. And it's about the same for Twitter, but I'm not really active on Twitter anymore since probably 1 year and a half ago. For obvious reasons, probably. And also on Instagram, it's sort of the same handle. And you had understash, I don't know you call that, long bar and P. And that's it. But it's the same handle. It's CEDRE. Cedre.
Awesome. So thank you for that. And I completely understand what you're saying about Twitter. I begrudgingly, I think that's the way to put it, begrudgingly use it because people did not all migrate and, just... Sorry, I don't know how well that was caught and whether or not it'll even make the cut, but an exasperated sigh as I lift my hands up, But yes, I understand completely what you mean for Twitter. But thank you for that. I will include those three. However, as you said, Blue Sky and Instagram seem like the two that would be the most used, the most worthwhile following to learn more about you, right?
Yep. I mean, you can at Twitter. I know some people still use Twitter, so you can also add this because for some reason it seems to be still very much active when I peek into that. But I'm mostly on Blue Sky. But they can find me a bit everywhere. Yeah.
Awesome. So thank you so much for that. Those links will be there. People can follow you. And outside of that, if there wasn't anything else that you wanted to throw out there, anything else you wanted to discuss, I will turn on those lights and let you leave, let you walk out into the world.
I think we discussed most of the things. I think I'm quite good with staying there. Yeah, I mean, just living it here. I think it's good for me.
Awesome. So, thank you. Thank you for making the time to be here. I really, as I said, appreciate it. I know sometimes it can be a little harder with the time difference. So again, thank you so much for working this out, for being here, for letting me bug you and ask you these questions.
No problem. I loved it, and thanks for the invitation. I really appreciated it. So yeah.
So thanks again to Ced for making time to have this conversation with me, and thank you for joining us on the Red Tunic Podcast, as well as a special thanks to Ronald Jenkins for the use of music from the title track from Road Steep. Be sure to check out the episode description for links to socials, websites, and other means that will allow you to learn more about or support Ced in the podcast. And while you're doing that, share, follow, whatever else you think makes the algorithm work. Thanks. Until next time.